one of the single greatest features that Rhino has that I've yet to see in other software is the hard find button. Oh my god, I want one in every software. It's literally like if you know what the thing you want to do is called, you just start typing it into the hard find button and you will get it. It's just I just love that idea. I love the idea of I don't need to navigate through menus. I just need to start typing the tool I need to use and then it'll walk me through using it. Oh my god. Like yes. Holy shit. You like try out Rhino and just try out that feature and just watch yourself fall in love with it. It is so good. I don't know if it's like something crazy hard to program because I know that like Windows has one, like Windows has one, so it's super slow in Windows. So I guess maybe it isn't hard to program it like sort of like hard programming it where it's just like sorry brute force programming it where it just goes through all your stuff, because maybe that's inefficient, um but God, the way Rhino does it is just absolutely wonderful. I love it. Moe doesn't really need it because Moe doesn't have that many menus to go through. So Moe just kind of is just like, yeah, no, like why do you need a hard find button? That might complicate things. Just learn how to name these like what 20 things. You're fine. So I don't think Moe needs it. I would love to see it in ZBrush. Like, oh my god, oh my god. One time I had to use just like the regular UI instead of my customized UI. And I literally was just like, so there's buttons that I'm used to being right next to each other, like hide points and delete hidden. I think hide points is, oh shit, I don't remember. I don't remember. Wait, they might be in the same spot. Are they? No. Okay, see, yeah, yeah. Oh wait, no, no, yes. One is invisibility, hide points, and the other one, geometry, is delete hidden would be modified topology. Yes. Okay. Did you see how difficult that was? Yeah. I would love a hard find button in ZBrush. Like, oh my god, I would love a hard find button in ZBrush, like the one in Rhino. It just makes life so much easier. Though obviously ZBrush's way around the hard find button I think is interesting, and I don't mind it, but I don't mind it for a reason that I'm comfortable accepting, but I can actually understand why someone else might not accept this. And this is a weird one because a lot of people I know absolutely despise the ZBrush UI. And while I understand it, I always tell them like, you realize that ZBrush is like meant for you to build your own UI, right? Like once you know the tools that you want to use, build your own UI. Um, and I've always been comfortable just giving people that answer, quite frankly. But like on another level, I also understand that people might not want that extra labor and commitment in order to be able to use the software. But so a few things. I don't think most people realize how many buttons are in ZBrush, how many tools are in ZBrush, how many tool interactions you can have in ZBrush. Um, to make a UI like sort of like just one UI that works for everyone that is not this current one, I don't actually know if that's possible. Um, because there are so many workflows that you can have for ZBrush. I mean, like I think it's possible to make say like a game industry. Um, oh man, no, even then. Okay, so I guess like maybe you could make like a set of like game industry UIs for ZBrush specifically. Um, then maybe they're geared towards making game industry work easier, but and then you just have one for 3D printing and oh god, okay, you know what? No, this is a return into a headache. Um, yeah, I don't think it's oopsie. I don't think it's that reasonable of an ask. Just looking at the amount of tools you'd have to organize somehow in ZBrush. I mean, like maybe they could take a poll of like the most commonly used tools, but then it would actually just make the UI even less navigatable because at least now they're categorized, right? So like you saw that I forgot where hide point and delete hidden were, but just using logic, I could remember where they are. If you, oh man, yeah, I would say the solution is just always, you know what, make the time investment, and customize your ZBrush UI. It doesn't take that long, and honestly, you can build it up over time. Another thing is that you'd be surprised at like how few buttons you really need. Like what you see in front of you is basically what I make all my ZBrush work using. I mean, yeah, I don't. The only thing is that I always leave this open, and I kind of just use all of these all the time. And so I guess like yeah, like this is what my workspace looks like when I'm working. It's not that many things, and there's a few things that actually need to put back. So when I used to render in ZBrush, I actually had a lot of draw features here for lights and stuff. But now I use KeyShot, so I have like a convenience thing for export for 3D printing. I just have like a 3D printing corner that's just always there, even though I don't always 3D print all my stuff, but it's just there because I had the space, and it's like, maybe you're some, because I've seen people who have like really, oh yeah, and I also have like the store config button in case I decide to do an edit. I should probably put enable customization up in here. And there's a few 3D print tools that I use now that I will probably add to this, but it's just gonna be um, transpose unit edits, um, and then that's it. So I don't think, at least for me, I don't think it took that long to make my UI. Long in terms of number of actions. I think it legitimately probably took me like a year of using ZBrush consistently to figure out like, okay, what are stuff that I keep using. But it's like, I guess like you can't really help that, right? It's like I'm not gonna put something on here that I'm not gonna use on a regular basis, and the only way to find that out is to use ZBrush and then be mindful and aware of what it is that you're using on a regular basis. So anyways, so back to what I was saying, I guess, is that I accept that ZBrush needs um a bit more of a time commitment. Um Hang on, project Ariel, geocheck. Um, like I definitely do see that Moe, sorry, not Moe, that ZBrush has a pretty steep learning curve, and it definitely requires you to make the investment of building your own UI or at least learning someone else's. But I think it's worth it in part because I mean ZBrush is like a monstrously good deal. Uh, just financially in terms and also in terms of the tools that you get in terms of I mean I've met ZBrush programmers. Um I've met people who work on ZBrush. I've met the people who decide what goes into ZBrush. I've talked to them about the psychology, which by the way, in case you didn't know, or at least so what I was told, and maybe I might it might have changed because this was years ago, but essentially it's different people, both traditional and digital, essentially go, wouldn't this be great? Or wouldn't this be a good thing to add to my workflow? And then the rest of the team tries to make it happen. And if it works, they put it in. Now, what happens is that a lot of these traditional tools might be near echoes of more digital tools, but because the approach might be more familiar to some artists, they're gonna have a preference. And so you know, like how people like to say that, like, oh, there's 100 ways of doing X, Y, and Z in ZBrush. It's like, yeah, they're right. They're totally right. There is like a lot of like almost redundant ways of doing things, or you'll get very similar results. But that is part of the design. That is part of how it's built. Because if you are a more traditional minded person, you will enjoy, or maybe you'll think of it'll be more intuitive for you to get to a result a certain way, more so than it is for someone who maybe learned how to model from Maya. And I said modeling, not sculpting. Do I think does anyone use? I think I'm not getting into that. I'm not the biggest Maya user, as some of you already know. Um, but I remember talking to like people who like predominantly started Maya, and then they went to ZBrush, and they were just like, "Oh my God, I can't process this UI at all," and so yeah, well, you know, I think ZBrush deserves their time to learn how to get good at it, and I realize it is a time commitment, and you know what, it doesn't bother me, but I do understand. Like, I think if I had to learn ZBrush now, maybe I wouldn't be so okay with it, but I learned it in college, and I learned it because I became obsessed with it basically the second I started using it, which I would hope is would still be my reaction if I discovered it now. I think it probably would be. Um, I've definitely become much more of a precise person, and I remember having to specifically learn to let go of my need for absurd precision, which ironically ZBrush just like brought back as I learned to use ZBrush, and sort of learn how to use 3D space itself, and the fact that 3D space itself actually has a lot of precision that if you're clever you can use very effectively. Um, so I think ZBrush now has gained the precision that I used to want it to have when I first started using it. Of course, when I want like extreme precision, I will usually go to something like Moe. But ZBrush can come very close. ZBrush can come very, very close. Sometimes it won't come close as fast, but then there's other things that ZBrush does dramatically faster than Moe, like Boolean concept. A lot of Boolean experiments that I'll actually use ZBrush over Moe for them, depending on what it is I'm building. Which is very strange because you would think that I think a lot of people think of CAD as like the Boolean king. Yeah, that's if you're only using CAD for Boolean, you're first of all you might be asking for trouble, but two, that's not really what CAD is for. CAD is computer assisted drawing, and it's very literal. If you can think of something, in a more like drawings. I don't know how many of you remember or actually watched the video where I built this, but you remember I started off with a silhouette, right, and then I started to just kind of like tweak some of these lines, and then I started adding lines, right. So this is actually a really cool view of this. Um, So you want to think of CAD as a line drawing because of course, in case it's not obvious to anyone, CAD geometry gets you this kind of stuff. And while yes, you can totally get this. Wait, what is this? I don't know what that is. I don't know why I put that here. While you can totally get a lot of this out of its ZBrush model, you'll realize that this starts to get a lot closer, a lot faster than most hand sculpted models, to what is to what you actually had in CAD. Um, So this is about where it is. Where it's gonna go. Yeah. So I also think this is a cool way of viewing your CAD models. Definitely for like concept. I think, do I have the I don't know, I feel like everyone's been, oh god. Do I not have it? No, okay, whatever. I feel like I need to update this. Alright guys, that was a yawn, so I'm gonna head out. Take care all.